We all sat in the battered sea shower, taking on new provisions and fuel, enough to see us back to London. Adam's Way had been a savior, and after making the last of my report, we were all looking forward to being on our way. Long had we been at sea. I am fueled by purpose. I have the tales to trade. I will know where my father met his end. But first, the journey back, as ever, fraught with terror. We first passed by a lightship, not far from the trying heights, where the Blue Prophets call the names of those about to die. It was the 12th of March, 1888, and it would be days still till we reached our next port. Through strange formations we sailed, coral and stone, and the way was quiet, calm, save for the Zebats that cried out far above us. And just then, something swam beneath the ship. "I saw it looking up at us," one voice said with a tremble. We had nets aplenty. Why not try to catch the thing? With a great haul, it came up, dripping from the sea, sleek as a seal, but its eyes were faceted. One sailor covered his ears. "I swear," he said afterwards, "I heard it scream like a woman." A strange catch indeed. And so we continued on, yet not to the west, not yet. We were too close to Pigmote Isle to pass up a visit. In the distance, Saint's Haven, the port of the isle, could be spied. All seemed well enough. First came the report, as ever. Then an opportunity to help once again. A new dilemma. A guilty rodent stood, his head bowed. The aide pushed him forwards. "Hairless advisor, this traitor stole food from our stores to feed a sick child, he claims. Do we show mercy or make an example of the wretch?" As I saw it, his actions were understandable, if not unfortunate. None should go hungry, least a sick child, forgiven and forgotten. The guilty rodent was released back to his family, all reeking with relief. Few claim justice had not been done, but it is not the last such theft, and with each one it becomes harder for the Muranians to tell where the line between clemency and weakness is drawn. The Isle was happy, yet more struggles would come in time. There was an opportunity to repair the sea shower here, yet I hoped to save coin and instead use favor back in London. While a risky choice, it was one that I was sure would pay off in time. Yet all these choices, all these decisions started to weigh heavier upon me, with the fate of my father now closer to discovery than ever. I started to wonder more often. What choice was it that led him to his end? What decision brought him death? Ahead of us lay the labyrinth of eels. Whilst a wicked sight, there was little chance to stop, and no place that we could dock. And so, ever onwards we carried, with food supplies lower than I would like. And then it was there, a pirate frigate. Out of the darkness it steamed towards us, yet the sea shower was ready. Even damaged, the crew and I were more than a match for the old hunk of iron she faced. The vile old vessel was not long for this world, and with the last volley we collected what we could from what remained. And the sea was kind. Supplies and fuel desperately needed, and even more. A stout crate containing 4 additional units. Hardtack and water. It was better, far better than death. But a few hours later, the great salt lions entered our view. We could almost smell London now. A quick stop at Zealport wouldn't hurt, and while I feared we might not have enough coin to carry stone back to London, my worries were put to ease. 200 echoes were all that was needed. However, 20 units of spare cargo space was required. The hold was far fuller than that, and our cargo too valuable. And so it was. We left the great lions behind, setting our sights to the west and towards yet another vessel of ill intent, an Alcleus-class corvette, one with a crew larger than our own. Its movements were clear, and our gunners tracked well. It all seemed too familiar, and then the reason struck me. The clay woman corsair. From the waters she would be brought, and with a lifeboat she was sent on her way to the lions. With us now 500 echoes richer, gaining more fuel and supplies to boot. Our success as of late was almost suspicious. It felt to me like the Z was finally on our side. Roars, cheers of celebration broke out on the deck as the light of London and the smell reached us. After all this time away, we were finally home. We all let out a breath of relief, and our terror was abated for now. Visiting the harbour master, I learned of what had changed. There was much to do as ever, and just as we were unloading, a familiar voice filled my ears. I was just saying to myself, how could the evening be further improved? And I replied to myself, perhaps only if my most very favourite captain were to return right now with some of the old golden stuff in that captain's hold. And strike me dead, if you didn't appear, we'll take that golden stuff off your hands for a price which I might say surpasses the generous and enters the realm of the charitable donation. He was offering 400 echoes for our box of sunlight. It would be a little less than the Isle of Cats, but the bruiser was here and now, and I was sure he wouldn't like hearing no. A pleasure. His men returned the box some hours later, empty of sunlight, now containing a suitable number of coins. Before anything else, I organized an impromptu meeting with Mr. Huffman. I had all he needed to put his fears at bay. A single echo, a tale of terror, a memory of a distant shore, and a Z story. It was to be another coffee in Caligula's. This time, Huffman was waiting in a shadowed nook by the kitchen, half hidden beneath a pile of manuscripts. Your father, he whispered, was surrendered to the postal service. Yes, it's undignified, although the postmen of London are honourable and tenacious. The package should have found its way back to the bazaar, but something went wrong. The package is in Nuncio. The island where postmen go when they have seen too much. The island of letters, not only dead but buried. Nuncio. The master's ally addressed the package, Huffman added, to a Mr. Volumus, but at the wrong door. He was already gathering his manuscripts to go. Good luck, and one piece of advice. Be courteous to the powers of the deep Z. You never know when you might benefit. Nuncio. There was a parcel with my name there. I would seek it. But before then came the Admiralty and the strategic information we had gathered. Gold and favour. After which I learned of a informant in Polythreme. We would stop by if and when we could. Then came the many port reports. Pigmote Isle, Frostfound, Astaval, the Shelonate, the Merid City of Vachas, Ireme, Adam's Way, King Eater's Castle, the Salt Lions, and finally, Demoe Island. The Zishao was then taken to the Admiralty Yards. For a little favour and a small amount of coin, her hull would be repaired. At the exchange, we sold off our additional supplies, Scintillac, the silk, and the linen. The venturer did desire Scintillac, but requiring 7 would be more than we could manage right now. To the alarming scholar, I offered our most recent strange catch, and yet another artifact. Next, we needed crew. For 30 Echo, I hoped to get enough. And sure enough, 3 scarred and seasoned sailors tramped aboard the Sea Shower, finding a place to sling their hammocks. Finally resting, I flicked through the collected morning papers, much the same as ever. It was time to rest, to heal and recover, and rest I did, with my wounds healing, my terror now only leaving me slightly nervous. It was better than I had felt in a long while. Knowing that we were set to return to Nuncio, I sought to buy more candles, just in case. A small upgrade was in order as well. A new lamp for the shower, an adequate device for seeking enemies. We bought one and sold our own, fitting it atop the bridge, and a new deck weapon, the Cotterel and Hathersage Reproach, for 200 echoes, earning 10 back for selling our old weapon. To the deck, it was fitted. Finally, it was time to reconsider. The Crimson Beast of Winter, Mr. Sachs. He would not be drawn by a mere glass of sherry and a mince pie. A lantern in the window might get its attention, if it was still watching, which I feared it might. At midnight, it dominated my lodgings. Its fur-trimmed robe, the red of blood on snow.
I require a sturdy vessel and a captain. Yours comes recommended. You will survive.
I feared I could not turn the creature down, not this time. The deal was struck. The beast withdrew its hand from the fireplace, examining it. Packed lacquer neath the snow. It disappeared back into the Incardine robe.
Trade delivery by your release. Do not tarry. You have much to lose.
The Crimson Beast of Winter lurked in my hold. It was not a healthy situation. Not for me, my ship, or my crew. The creature called for me. It was time for the first delivery. Mr. Sachs was waiting, clutching what looked like a leg of lamb. The meat was rotten, the bone well-tuned.
A fool sought a name that devours. It devoured him. A lifetime's wealth wasted on cravings that can never be sated. When all was eaten, he stripped the meat from his fingers in search of solace. Still the hunger gnawed and screamed in his belly. He thought this pitiful offering of poison might free him. Debts are not so easily paid.
To Khan's Heart, or Pigmoat Isle, that was our route. As it stood, passage to Pigmoat Isle, then Nuncio seemed the most straightforward option. However, I did fear what bringing a creature like the Crimson Beast to the cavies and rats of Pigmoat might mean for their stability. Even so, a pact was made. I would not risk this creature's ire, not when we were so close to finding those bones. The shower felt better than ever with our new light, yet there was a hiss of horror from the lookout. The new lamp sputtered and arced, fizzing with blue light, even as I watched it. It was not a good omen, but there was a perfectly natural explanation to all of this. Calming them should be straightforward. The darkness underneath was more than just an absence of light. It was a presence. It was not the first time I had explained it to the sailors, but to those new on board, it calmed their nerves. enough that we might carry on. And carry on we did, toward what was to be our first stop, Mutton Island. Yet, on its shores, a megalops swam upon the surface of the sea. Its intent was clear. It wanted to peel back our own shell and get to the tasty morsels within. Yet, we'll be having none of that. Our second volley found its mark, and as it turned on its back, its legs neatly folding, a bluish blood gouted from its wounds. The golden glow of its body began to dim. Dissecting it would be a straightforward challenge. We had enough supply, so understanding the thing seemed the better choice. With knives and acids, it was a undistinguishable adolescent specimen. A megalops, one of the deep-sea crab species, but its eyes, normally vestigial in these troglodyte beasts, were larger and rather beautiful. The golden glow was almost gone, although sparks leapt now and then to our knives. With our work done, we carried on to Quaker's Haven, to the hilltop above the town. Times change. They'd gotten rid of their well. It was true, the bricks were black with mold and the timbers were so rotten they looked like they'd give out whenever a bucket was drawn. But did they need to cap the whole with a steel plate? And why one with such delicately carved circles, and circles within those circles? At least there's one sensible change they've made, installing a number of benches at the hilltop. Hard though they may be, it's still pleasant to be able to rest and look out over the town. Flicking a coin to some nearby fishermen, I learned what I could about changes to the isle. No news as far as they were aware, at least that which I could pass on to the Admiralty. Finally, we piled into the Cock and Magpie. Tonight they were serving rubbery lumps, the Mutton Island way. They make them down in London, but they're just not the same. These are like gristle, if gristle could be golden. Saltier than any decent food should be, but somehow I couldn't stop eating them.
It's the well water, see?
Slurred a young man who had been making friends with cider.
Can't make proper rubbery lumps without a proper well. Stands to reason we look after the well here, treat it right. The drowned man looks after us.
The landlord came over, slapping the young fellow, and took his cider away. The evening would cost us, yet it was worth the ease it brought us. In the morn, we left Quaker's Haven behind, travelling to the southeast towards a great beaming light. Patrick's Lot illuminated much of the Corsair forest. It was between those stalactites that a pirate pinnacle spied us. Our bright light giving us away, no doubt. But that light allowed us to hone our weapons on it. It was a vile old vessel, and it would not take us much. The new guns firing away, tearing through the dark. With but a few volleys, she sank beneath the waves. There, in the crates that remained, was a kind of honey. It was what they called prisoner's honey, wrung by the lamplighter bee from the exile's rose.
I wonder who made up all these names,
remarked able Seaman Carget.
Someone who read a sight too many books, I'm thinking.
With that we passed by the Bourne Vadus pillar, with Gator's Morn but a short distance beyond. It was a dangerous place on a good day, yet as ever I sought means to reward the crew for their efforts. There was a chance to gather intelligence. Yes, I would not be taking the risk now. That being said, I would not ignore a chance to explore the Morn. There were fisherfolk sharing riddles and betting on them too. There was a sardonic woman with a pair of matched knives, a silver hoop earring, and a carnate accent. She had a real riddle, one that required a 10 echo bet. I tried and failed, and left 10 echoes lighter. From the Morn, we would sail further to the southeast, Pigmote Isle being our next destination. A fear was creeping into me, a fear that sprung from the crimson beast that lurked within our hull. As we passed by the crab cake, luminescent, eyeless dolphins played in the wake of the shower. It put my mind at ease somewhat at the fog that had rolled in, disguised much, yet naught but us hid within its thick veil. And as we emerged on the other side, Pigmoat Isle lay before us. We were close. There, as we neared the isle, I dreamt of the beast. It towered above me on the snow-downed streets of London, its sack open wide to receive my offering.
I will take all you can give. I will take everything you have. I will take more.
Take my best regards. It was an old Londoner's trick. It would work, but only once. Mr. Sachs was silent for a moment.
May you experience all the generosity that you deserve.
It intoned, stepping into the darkness and taking the light and all memory of light with it. I woke up in a cold sweat, fumbling to light the lantern beside my bed. It was just a nightmare, but it was one that left behind a sixth sense of something barely being averted. It was a distant bell as we neared Saints Haven. Before Sax's delivery, there was yet another dilemma to resolve. Great ships had been dispatched to Pigmoat Isle. A chill hung over the chicken woods. The trees creaked in the still air. The age shivered.
Do you feel it, hairless advisor? They say a monster lives out here, where even our light cannot reach. Our farmers refuse to tend their mushrooms until they can be sure of reaching them in safety. But we cannot find no trace of the beast. Whatever can we do?
Raising the chicken woods would be madness. Declaring the fairs superstition and nothing more seemed to be a straightforward challenge. A party, perhaps, would put them at ease. There was comfort in company. The celebration took the rodents' minds off of the shadowy threat. By the warmth of a good fire, the vague unknown was no longer something to squeak or twitch their whiskers over. It may be more bravado than actual courage, but it's the kind that lasts even after the fire has burnt down to charcoal. Yet I feared that what they feared lurked within my ship. As I returned, the Isle's food had diminished quickly. Hungry rats and cavies stared at each other, a new glint passing from eye to eye as the cravings and stomach pangs spread. They stopped to watch me in silence as I went past, mouths salivating. In the middle of the town, a few of the hungriest began digging a well. This was the work of the Crimson Beast. I fear for what I had brought them here. On my desk, 3 scintillac shone brightly. From Mr. Sachs, no doubt. The beast produced a jeweled bird.
The thief thought it would bring her riches. Perhaps it would. But when the gracious widow and the cherryman both covet what you stole, mere money ceases to be of concern. To avenge one or make an enemy of the other, she sought a third way, a moment of inspiration that came too late. We want no part in this feud. Settle it.
This prize, I had the choice. I could take it to the smugglers of the Isle of Cats to favor the widow, or the Cherryman's agent on Mutton Island. The second delivery was outlined. The Isle of Cats was not far, and sat to the south of Nuncio. Past Visage we would sail. This was the path that we would take. I hoped with all my heart that the rodents and cavies of the isle would recover, that I had not doomed them by bringing this thing here. Yet that dream still lingered. This was no mere monster of myth. Sax was as real as you or I, and if I was not cautious, my life and that of the crew would be consumed by that unending hunger. The deliveries would be made. This curse broken. Nuncio, I must return to Nuncio.